Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. Today ended up not being as bad as I prepared myself for. And I made my video last night looking at the pre-market and kind of just giving my raw opinion on where the market's going. And it's just that it's a raw opinion. I have no idea. No one does. It makes selling options in a time like this pretty difficult, but today I went down swinging. And we'll see what that means here. I wanted to do a recap of the month of March because we are coming to an end now. And I wanted to see how much I made in premium for the month. And if you like this kind of content, I've been documenting me trying to sell some options for some extra income. And if you want to follow along and see how I do and learn from my mistakes or just watch me fail or potentially succeed, we're hoping I succeed, hit that subscribe button. We're getting close to 2,000 subs. Really do appreciate it. And it might seem silly me showing you how much I made in premium when in the last 3 months, my portfolio here, as you can see, has been decimated. We're down almost 20%. However, for the whole year, in the last year, I'm actually up, and I'm up more than the S&P 500. So I consider that a win. At one point, though, I was all the way up 63% in a year. So I can show you where it peaked and where we are relative right now. So for me to show you, this is how much I made in premium. Some of the premium is to thank for this number. But what you're seeing here with the decline of value is just that. It's the decline of value of the stocks that I have in my portfolio. These aren't necessarily losses because I haven't sold and I don't plan on selling these positions that I have in my portfolio because for the majority, they're pretty good stocks and they're really good companies. And that's what I do when I sell options is I sell them, especially the puts, on really good companies. Lately, though, it's been selling covered calls. And we can see right here the total monthly return for the month of March. I might have to buy to close some of these still that are open, that I've opened throughout this month. But as it sits right now, $3,500 in premium, which I don't know if that's the most I've ever made. We can see last month it was close to $3,000. So this might actually be a contender for one of the best months in terms of premium, which is wild considering how bad the market's been performing this month. If you're new to selling options, premium is what you get from selling those options. And I have many videos talking about selling options. I have a course if you're interested in helping out the channel, link down below. But the way I think of it is I am making money, at least with the covered calls, while owning the stocks. And sure, there is some risk to cap my total return, but I try to play that in a safe manner to where it's not likely I'm going to have to cap it. Meaning I can roll them out at expiration if I have to and just give it more time. And so far that's been helping me out. One thing I like to do is I like to break down from ticker symbol how much I made in premium selling different stocks. So Chipotle, I only have 2 trades. It looks like $42 here. Robinhood, I expect to be a pretty sizable amount. And it's $1,125 selling mostly calls, some puts thrown in here, but mostly calls on Robinhood. And if you're wondering what delta am I looking for, what percentage chance of it expiring in the money am I looking for? I look for like a 30% chance or less when selling both calls and puts. And I try to stay pretty consistent with that. And if I'm even wanting to be less risky, I get close to a 0.2 or a 20% chance of it expiring in the money delta. And that's typically my rule of thumb. MSTU, I haven't made a whole lot of trades because really it's just been rolling puts that I've already sold on MSTU. So $68 there. $6 for Nubank. SoFi, I'm also expecting it to be a pretty good amount. $923 there. And into next month, I'm actually thinking about going even harder, selling covered calls on SoFi. We do have SoFi earnings, I believe, late next month, so I'm going to keep that in mind when selling calls. But if we ever get a random spike, I'd expect me to sell more. I think as it stands right now, if we go to my SoFi position, I believe I have around 1,000 shares tied up as collateral. And yes, that's the case. 1,000 shares of SoFi, so I have another 3,400 shares that I can sell covered calls on if I want to, which is wild to me. That's a pretty substantial amount of money if I do that weekly. However, I don't like to sell them all at once because I like to kind of average it out over time. And that way, if the stock goes up, I can follow the stock. And, inversely, if the stock goes down, I miss out on some of those gains, but at least I'm not all tied up at one particular strike price. And lastly, I think this is probably the biggest ticker symbol when it comes to the amount of money I made in options. $1,213 selling options on the SPY. And these have all been strictly covered calls. I own 100 shares of the SPY on Fidelity. I've been selling covered calls this whole entire month and making $1,200 doing so. And this has actually helped fund my Roth IRA, which is kind of cool. And then lastly, you can see here, I got assigned 100 shares of TQQQ at a very high price relative to where it's at today. And I've been selling calls on it since, making $133 this month. And I suppose we can mark this as no because I still own those shares. And so that's pretty much it. Like I said, a delta that I'm looking at, both selling calls and puts, is around a 0.3. And the stocks, if you've been following the channel for some time, are probably not surprising to you, the ones I'm selling options on, because it's been consistent for like the last 6 months or so. Let me know what you're selling options on if you are right now in the volatile times that we're seeing. And yeah, I really appreciate you guys checking out the channel and watching this video, and I hope to see you in a future one.